Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are strapping in to analyze a song that is less a track and more a piece of global cultural architecture, Aha's Take on Me.
It's just instant recognition, isn't it? Before you even hear the voice, you hear that spiraling, instantly recognizable synth riff.
The one that basically defines 80s synth pop.
Exactly. And then you hear that voice just soaring impossibly high.
It is iconic, absolutely era-defining. It holds this space in the pop pantheon that, very few songs can touch. But here's the paradox we're diving into.
That's right.
How did a track written by a Norwegian band that actually failed its first two releases and relied on a seemingly ungrammatical phrase, how did that become an era-defining, multi-billion-view global smash?
And not just a smash, it fundamentally redefined what a music video could even be. Our mission today is to trace that whole trajectory.
And it seems like the first obstacle was the band itself.
Yeah, that's the wild part. The song was the brainchild of Paul Waaktaar and Magni Furuholmen, and they almost buried it years before Aha even existed.
Wait, they wrote that iconic riff and then just decided not to use it? It sounds like madness now.
It wasn't madness so much as an identity crisis. They were in a previous band called Bridges, and their sound was much more rooted in late 60s, early 70s psychedelic rock.
Okay, so a totally different vibe.
A completely different vibe. They were serious about their art, and that unforgettable synth line, the one that defined their entire career, they thought it sounded too fluffy.
Too fluffy.
Furuholmen, the keyboardist, specifically said he thought the riff sounded like a chewing gum commercial.
Oh, wow.
Which to us, just means hyper-catchy commercial.
Yeah.
But to them, it didn't align with their artistic vision at the time.
So their biggest creative hurdle wasn't writing a hit. It was accepting that they had written a hit. That's a fascinating insight into that tension between art and commerce.
It really is.
So what changed their minds if they almost shelved the universal hit for being too catchy?
Desperation.
Yeah.
The change came when they realized they were literally starving for a break. Waaktaar, Furuholmen, and the singer, Morten Harket, they left Norway for London.
Trying to make it.
And the struggle was real. The sources say they were, quote, literally starving, using their last bits of money just to send out demo tapes.
So this context of struggle is absolutely crucial. They were just out of options. But it was Harket, the singer, who really championed the song, right? He saw something in it.
He did. He had this absolute, unwavering belief in what he called its universal hit sound, even when the others had doubts. And that belief drove the persistence we see play out across 3 separate attempts to record it.
Okay, let's unpack that saga of persistence, because the first attempt in 1984, it was a total flop.
A complete commercial failure. Produced by Tony Mansfield, it barely registered on the charts. I think it peaked at 137 in the UK.
So why did it fail? What was wrong with it?
Well, this is where you get into the nuance of production. The band and the label, they just weren't happy. They felt the track sounded too inorganic.
Inorganic. What does that even mean in the context of 80s pop?
It felt flat. A little robotic, maybe. The synths sounded stiff, the drums didn't have any punch, and the whole mix was just too technical. It didn't have that emotional warmth you need for a pop song.
So it lacked that soaring quality.
Exactly. The quality that Harket's voice demanded.
So the U.S. label, Warner Brothers, they saw the potential in the song structure and in Harket's voice, and they realized the production was the weak link, so they decided to double down.
A huge risk. A huge financial risk, given the first failure. They commissioned Alan Tarney for the 1985 re-recording, and his job was clear. Make it cleaner, more vibrant, and crucially, make it soar.
And this is the version we all know, the sonic breakthrough. Tony didn't just clean it up, he restructured it, adding that brilliant coda section that sets up the final chorus.
And it's fascinating how they got that specific shimmering sound, that main melody, the one that sounds like light spiraling upwards, that was created using the Roland JUNO-60 synthesizer.
The JUNO-60, why that specific piece of gear? What did it give them?
The JUNO-60 is known for its incredible warmth and its chorus effect. So while they used cutting-edge digital gear like the Yamaha DX7 for other sounds, which gave it a sharp edge,
Right.
the JUNO-60 gave the main riff this rich analog texture. It made it sound huge and expansive, not just thin and digital. That blend is the secret recipe.
It's the perfect synthesis of technology. But, I mean, no matter how good the gear is, you have to execute the performance. And we have to talk about the vocal athleticism of Morten Harket.
It's breathtaking, truly. Harket has a vocal range of over 3 octaves, And the song was explicitly built to show that off. That spiraling chorus requires him to leap into this high falsetto.
And we're talking about hitting the highest note, an E5, right at the peak of the chorus.
It's an incredibly difficult, physically demanding move. There's a reason why sources like Rolling Stone call it one of the hardest to sing choruses in pop history. It's an athletic performance disguised as a pop tune.
I feel so much better about my failure to hit that note in the car now.
You and everyone else. Harket once said, "The voice is not in the throat, it's in the blood." He poured his physical existence into this.
Okay, so we've covered the persistence, the production, but let's pivot, because all of that technical effort was focused on delivering one key phrase, "Take on me." Which leads us to the heart of the linguistic confusion. After all that polishing, does that phrase even make sense in English?
It's a fantastic question, and the popular theory is that the title is what we call a Scandinavianism, basically a linguistic accident.
Explain the Norwegian connection for us.
So if you take the common Norwegian or Swedish phrase, ta på meg, and you translate it literally, word for word, you get take on me.
Okay.
But in the original language, ta på meg means touch me.
Oh, so they were aiming for intimacy but ended up with something that sounds like an incomplete command.
Precisely. They were probably searching for a phrase about connection or touching, but when it was translated, the grammar just sort of fell apart in English.
Because in standard English, you'd say, take me on, which means I challenge you.
That's the correct idiom. Take on me, with the pronoun at the end like that, is structurally awkward. It's a phrase that kind of leaves your ear hanging, and it's often considered ungrammatical.
And yet, that strangeness is part of its charm. It forces you to sort of fill in the meaning.
It does. And if you ignore the Norwegian translation, the English interpretations fall into two main camps. First, it's just poetic license, a more musical version of Take Me On.
A challenge to start a relationship, maybe.
Right. Or the deeper reading, it's a plea for emotional acceptance. The speaker is asking the partner to take on the burdens and responsibilities of having a relationship with me.
Wow, that completely shifts the meaning. From a simple request to a request for profound emotional investment, a commitment.
And that deeper play aligns perfectly with the poetic themes in the rest of the lyrics, which are way more sophisticated than people give them credit for.
Let's talk about that. The lyrics are this beautiful exploration of vulnerability and fleeting time.
Absolutely. The speaker immediately creates this sense of urgency with the line, "I'll be gone in a day or two."
That line is so powerful. It creates this small, immediate window. You have to act now, or the opportunity for connection is lost forever.
It connects thematically with classic literary ideas, carpe diem, seizing the day. It shares DNA with poets who wrote about the fear of opportunities slipping away.
And Auha provides the ultimate counter-argument to being cautious. This is my favorite part of the whole thing.
The defining line, "It's no better to be safe than sorry." A deliberate inversion of the old proverb, "Better safe than sorry."
They're warning you that the regret you'll feel from avoiding an emotional risk is ultimately worse than the potential failure you might experience by taking that risk.
And this is where the meta-narrative of the song's creation becomes so fascinating. Think about the band's actual journey.
They failed the first time.
Failed the second time. They had to risk their career, their finances, everything to push this song forward a third time. They literally lived out their own lyrical message.
Their refusal to be safe is the only reason the hit exists.
Absolutely. And the lyrics are about accepting that imperfection. The speaker admits, "I'm odds and ends, but I'll be stumbling away." They accept that they are broken pieces, but they're trying, slowly learning that life is okay.
The message is that growth comes from embracing the stumble, not from immediate perfection. It's such a sophisticated lyric wrapped in a perfect pop package.
But sophisticated lyrics and perfect synths, that still wasn't enough. What launched this song into the global consciousness was the visual narrative that came with it.
Let's get into the groundbreaking 1985 music video, directed by Steve Barron, who was already a star after doing Michael Jackson's Billie Jean. This video was the ultimate game changer.
A total visual revolution. When it debuted on MTV, audiences were just mesmerized. They hadn't seen this style of animation used with such narrative depth before. The technique is called rotoscoping.
For anyone who doesn't know, what exactly is rotoscoping and why was it so effective here?
So rotoscoping is an animation technique where you trace over live-action film frame by frame. The key advantage is that it lets you capture the fluidity of real-world movement, how people naturally run or react. But you present it with a drawn, pencil sketch aesthetic.
That's where that classic black and white comic book look comes from. It merges reality and fantasy perfectly.
And it's an old technique. The device was patented by Max Fleischer way back in 1917. Disney used it to guide the animation in films like Snow White.
But Aha and Barron just applied it to a music video on an unprecedented scale.
The sheer labor involved is staggering. The animators, Michael Patterson and Candice Reckinger, they traced roughly 3,000 frames over 16 weeks to get that unique look.
16 weeks for a 3-minute video.
It was a massive commitment. And the plot is so wonderfully romantic and action-packed. It starts when the comic book character, played by Harket, winks at a girl in a cafe, played by Bunty Bailey.
Who then became his real-life girlfriend for a time.
That's right, and she gets pulled into this black and white comic book world.
And she's immediately in this chase sequence with these comic book villains. One of them has a pipe wrench, which is oddly menacing.
It is, and the key emotional moment comes when Harket helps her escape the maze by physically tearing a hole through the paper wall, letting her jump back into the real world.
It's that moment where he tears the paper.
Yep.
It just perfectly visualizes that barrier between fantasy and reality.
And then he has to follow. He struggles to break out of his two-dimensional prison, hurling himself against the paper until he finally escapes and transforms into a human. It's a visual parallel to the emotional vulnerability in the lyrics.
The impact was immediate. It just captivated everyone watching MTV.
It won 6 MTV Video Music Awards in 1986, including Viewer's Choice, and more importantly, it gave the song the momentum it needed to finally conquer the U.S. charts and become a #1 hit.
And the staying power of that video is astounding. It hit 1 billion views on YouTube in 2020, and then in 2024, it reached 2 billion views. The first video from the entire 1980s to cross that mark.
It's a multi-generational legacy.
It really is.
So, to synthesize this deep dive, Take On Me is this unique success story because it's a confluence of things. Mechanical ingenuity with the JUNO-60, linguistic ambiguity, and sheer cinematic innovation. But at the end of the day, it's a testament to the band's belief and their absolute refusal to accept failure.
And that refusal to quit is why the song is still so persistent. It's covered everywhere. Weezer, Real Big Fish, it's sampled in modern pop hits, it shows up in La La Land and The Last of Us Part 2. It's permanently woven into the global tapestry.
It is. So let's leave you with a provocative thought to mull over. The entire journey of Aha getting this song right required them to push forward after failing, not once, but twice. The core lyric warns us, it's no better to be safe than sorry.
And if the band had played it safe, if they had just shelved the song after the first failure or even the second, this entire cultural phenomenon, the video, the legacy, none of it would exist.
So that's the question. Does the sheer persistence required to finally succeed sometimes matter more than the initial quality of the product? Was the band's own struggle the ultimate, most profound realization of their own lyric?
It makes you think. Consider what you might be holding back on right now out of fear of the first, second, or third failure. The lesson here is clear. Take the risk. Embrace the stumble. We'll see you next time for another deep dive.